Yeah, yo, sometimes you gotta go to war for what you believe in. Sometimes you gotta go to war for what it is that you want, what you see that's right. I'm about to go to war, but lyrically. War cry, baby. Yeah. Hey yo, war cries echoes in the background. That's the sound of soldiers getting ripped up and tore down. Lyrically dismantle metaphors and manhandle. Marauder with me. Welcome back to Impose My Will podcast. I'm your co-host Ramone. With me is my brother Joe, my brother At. We want to welcome y'all back to the show. Listen, before we start, please follow us on social media, Twitter, also known as X, Facebook, Instagram. It's all Impose My Will podcast. Hey, like, subscribe the show. If you love it, hit the like button. If you don't, hit the dislike button. It's all good. Either or is good for us. Fellas, what's going on with y'all, man? How y'all feeling?
Feeling good, man.
Beautiful.
Good. How about you?
I'm good, very blessed to see another week. So
awesome.
Looking forward to getting into some of this news we got. It's a little bit. We've been gone for a quick second, so we back.
Word.
Let the world know what's up.
Absolutely. So that's great, y'all. I'm happy to hear everybody is good. It's been a lot going on in the sport and the culture. So we're gonna start right from the top, man. Let's get into Ryan Garcia and his B sample, the results of the B sample, and pretty much what we feel or believe at this very moment might be his fate for the future. So start with you, Joe. What's your thoughts, man? Even before I get to your thoughts, let's just let the people know that he failed.
Right.
You know what I mean? He fell pretty miserably. No difference. So let's put that out there first. So go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry, bro.
I still find the situation interesting.
Yeah.
Because, even though he failed, his hair sample came back negative.
True.
And you know what they was talking about, that if he could prove that his supplements, because it's a small trace of it,
right?
Even though it's a lot form or whatever, that it was contamination. And I guess they was recently, I think they was able to prove that it was contamination or whatever. So I think they letting the boy off the hook from what I got from it. And it's like, you can't really argue too much of that. Like, he was wrong, still should take the fine or whatever. But outside of that,
right?
Like, yo, what do you do with this now?
Right. Yeah. At, how you feel?
Yeah, it's funny to me because the commission is not testing hair samples. So why are we even bringing hair samples into this? Like,
true.
That's just like
true.
Cop killing a black man, and you saying, well, what about black on black crime? Well, that don't got nothing to do with what we talking about. So
right.
They did the samples. You agreed to the urine samples. He tested both of them. It came back bad, whatever, as far as positive for the substance. So it seemed like he just went on a whole campaign to kind of prove his point, and then his story keeps switching. So my big question is if this situation was reversed, if Devin Haney popped dirty and all of this stuff went on against the Ryan Garcia, we wouldn't be doing all this. We wouldn't be going to all the extreme to the core of the earth to try to prove, well, we did a hair sample and that came back. That ain't got nothing to do with anything, because he legit could have been clean the whole time, and then the last 2 days decided to take it. That still don't change the fact that he cheated. So it just seemed like when you like somebody, or you're a fan of somebody, or they more popular, people just go to the ends of the earth to try to ride with you, even if you're wrong. So I mean, that's what's happening right here. So we'll see what's going to happen. I will hope New York is fair about it and basically punish that man as if he a cheater, in addition to him missing the weight. So all this other stuff people trying to cape for him, listen, it's other fighters who came up dirty, and Roy, Shane, Bumgardner, like, you get the same smoke from me, Canelo. So I don't play no favors. So if he beat the man clean, I'll be giving him his due. But when you did stuff that made took your win into questions, you got to deal with the consequences. And ultimately, it's not a consequence because you still got your payday, your
Right.
50 million or whatever. So
Right.
that little time they're gonna sit you down, you gonna still get money other ways. So, but that's getting off track. But either way, like I said, I mean the sample held up the way I expected it to be. That's all I'm gonna leave at that.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. Um, it's so the hair sample, from my understanding, this is something that his particular team had. They did their own testing. They did outside testing, and the hair sample came back negative. But I mean, really, uh, At, you make a great
One
announcement.
last thing I want to say. I don't
Yeah,
know,
go
I'm
ahead.
gonna cut you off, but
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
those companies who he brought up too, and I just seen this the other day.
Mm,
They basically came out and broke down they broke down their products and said
mm.
why it was no contamination with them. There's no way they could be contaminated. But I
Yep.
just wanted to say that. I
No,
didn't mean to cut you off.
absolutely. Yeah, no, great point. Great point. Yeah, they did. That it was online about those companies breaking down their what's in there's what substances is inside of what they take, and how it could have been no way for Ryan Garcia to be taking those and it have ostarine in them, right? So yeah, I think you guys really, it's not much more that I can say on it. Um, he popped dirty. He should be going through the same things, like you said, the same scrutiny as Baumgartner went through, the same scrutiny as other people who was going through it. Um, and this is why they take multiple samples, just in case they get it wrong the first time. The second time should show that they got it wrong. It showed the same exact thing, right? So my question to you guys is, now that he's been, he popped dirty twice, um, what do you think the consequence of that should be? At, I'll start with you.
I mean, I'm still gonna try to stay consistent. I feel like he should get a heavy fine,
Mhm.
and he should definitely get hit with a 2-year ban. Because at some point, we gotta start establishing some type of severe penalty to
Mhm.
deter people from doing these actions. Because
Right.
you mess around, it's gonna be a case where somebody take them steroids and they're gonna end up killing a man in the ring. And
Absolutely.
then when that happened, you ain't gonna be able to say, well,
Mhm.
this is the reason why, or only was that much. There was only six times more. Well,
Right.
the family who lost their family member ain't gonna be able to say that, and then it's gonna become a big lawsuit against the boxing commissions and
Right.
promoters. So, yeah, I better take some action now and
Mhm.
start trying to be serious about this. Same way baseball started hitting people with these higher suspensions with them
Mhm.
steroids,
Mhm.
NBA, all like that, NFL, boxing really need to stop being the wild wild west, start really buckling this stuff down.
I agree. I agree. Joe.
Yeah, like I said, I agree with it. The fine you should definitely take. Suspension should definitely be there, but it's just how long? How long
Right.
do you make that fine be?
Right.
The suspension, like what At said last week, 2 weeks. I mean, not 2 weeks, but 2 years.
2 years. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That'll hurt his money, like you said. He's good financially. He's big social media head, but at the same time, now you got to take that into consideration. You know what I mean? If he is out here popping dirty or whatever, you
Mhm.
got kids looking at you too, or whatever. You one of the biggest social media acts out
Great
there,
point.
boxing
Mhm.
or whatever. You need to set the example because people was looking, especially right now with his antics. His antics is
Mhm.
kind of egregious or whatever, a little over the top.
Mhm.
Slow the man down or
Yep.
whatever. Slow him down. He's a
Yep.
young fighter. He got time to take his suspension and to come back, and hopefully he come back to the game. You know what I'm saying, with his
Right.
mind.
Right.
Great points.
Yeah. No, I agree. I heard I won't say the name of the person, but a particular boxing promoter, I believe it was saying that he should receive a lifetime ban. And I'm like, at first I thought it was outlandish at first, but then at the same time, us talking about At, you just bringing up the fact that, unfortunately, there might be a time where a person, pops dirty, but has killed the opponent, from the muscle enhancer or performance enhancer. And like that stuff has to be checked. There has to be stronger checks and balances, in my opinion, against that. So how do you do that, right? You know, a person who cheats, you give him time off, but he's gonna come back. Hopefully he doesn't cheat, but there's no real way to know if he or she is gonna cheat again, right? So it's like, do you give him the hefty fine and then also give him, you know, a 1 year, 2 year suspension, or do you say you can no longer fight in the state if you pop dirty? You know what I'm saying? Like should New York totally ban him? You know what I mean? Or the New York Commission, should they ban him from being able to come back to New York and fight, or should they give him an even, like, you know, give him 5 years versus 2 years? So it's always interesting when that stuff happens, right? So, but we'll see how it plays out. It's actually playing out right now in front of us. There hasn't been, that I've saw, I don't know if you guys saw, but there hasn't been any official ruling as far as what the consequence is as of yet. Has it?
Nah, not that I can think of, but
I haven't seen it.
just piggybacking off what you said, I do think some fighters, it might be an accidental thing where they
Right.
take a supplement and it's just contaminated. So I don't know if I want to fully lifetime ban them, but
Right.
maybe if you could prove that they really, they was
Right.
plotting and to get them plotting and they really was very
You find
specific about what they
all
was
that stuff.
doing. Yeah, but if it's somebody who accidentally ingested something they didn't know was in there and it's accidental and they can kind of sue them, I don't think you need a full lifetime ban, but you got to hit them with something to make them really think hard about doing that. Even if you hitting half they purse, half they purse for the fight, anything,
Yeah.
whole purse, you will really think hard about taking some stuff. If that
You
10
would.
million you was guaranteed they snatched the whole thing, you ain't gonna try that.
Right. Even if you worth 100 million, like, that's a lot of money to get snatched from you. I don't care who you are. It's a lot of bread. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So as it develops, we'll keep talking about it. Of course, on the next show. If there's something out there, we'll keep covering it. Let's move on, fellas. So just recently, over the last few days, it seems like, based on certain things that we've seen, Mike Coppinger, he's really big in posting news. Sometimes he get it right, sometimes he don't, as we can see, or he might be a little bit
Like Cappinger.
right. Mike Coppinger, he might be a little bit early with his news, but this news is something that most people knew was going to come out. We were just waiting for it, which is Errol Spence Jr. versus Fundora, supposedly in October in Dallas, right? Totally makes sense to have in Dallas. Errol Spence being a local, Fundora being Mexican. I believe he's Mexican, and
Yeah, something like that.
yeah, and of course, Texas is big Mexican populations, and they're really big on Errol Spence. It's probably going to sell out. It's going to be a big event, huge event. Let's talk about that. I probably won't give a prediction right now. It's a little early, but as we get closer, as we start seeing things, we could probably give a full blown prediction. But I just want to kind of touch in and tap in with you guys and see how you feel about this announcement. And what's your thoughts, Joe? How you feeling, bro?
This one I ain't really paid too much attention to right now. Just seeing how everything was
right
and out. Like the fight, definitely want to see the fight happen.
Sure.
And then also, like I said, with his health, you hearing all different types of stuff that I heard. He's like back training again.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of letting everything play out until things get to the point. You know what I mean? So.
Gotcha. AT, also known as Anthony.
This one, fight wise, I'm looking forward to it because I think it's stylistically will be a good matchup. I'm not gonna go prediction wise, but I really think it's an even fight, especially based off and this is something I always said. People probably didn't want to agree with it, but I've always felt Spence kind of slowly deteriorating. Even from prior to the accident, I felt skill set wise, different things kind of declining, but then the accident kind of probably exacerbated it faster. But so this is actually an interesting fight to see if he still, as far as punch resistance, as far as just what he really has left. And then it's
Mhm.
going to be he's doing it with the new trainer, going to a new weight class.
Mhm.
It's a lot of different variables that's going to be interesting. And then you got Fundora, he coming off his last performance, just winning the world title for the first time. I
Mhm.
think that can instill a different level of confidence in you where you might not have had that going into this fight that he
Mhm.
wouldn't have if he didn't win the title. So
Mhm.
it's a lot of storylines, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna get all into it and break everything down. But it's
Mhm.
interesting to see, and I mean, it's good. I hope Spence, if he returns, I hope he's healthy. But I do think he did a lot of funny style business after this Bud fight. But I'm not gonna go into all that. That's a whole different topic. But we
Mhm.
will. I'm looking forward to this fight. I'll say because I just want to see how it plays out.
And we definitely gonna go into that, man, because it's
'Cause
really no
I
way
can
to
break
avoid
that
it.
down. I mean,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
gotta,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. It's
I
no,
ain't gonna.
it's no way around it. You know, it's a part of who he is right now. You know what I'm saying? That narrative is gonna be there, especially now that he's not at that gym. It's official. He's not at that gym no more.
Right.
So you know we got to talk about that, and we will as things get closer.
Right.
But both of you guys make good points. I'm interested in the fight. I'm looking forward to the fight. Um, it is an interesting fight for many reasons. If we just physically look at that fight, I mean, it's a big height difference. It's a big difference in stylistically. Um, Fundora being a taller guy, though he's tall, Fundora likes to fight like a small dude. He likes to get in and bang out and stuff like that. He didn't fight Tim Tszyu like that, which was actually extremely smart, because that probably may not have been the best strategy against somebody like Tim Tszyu. But typically, that's how he likes to fight. So I think strategically, we're in for a treat. I think the fight is going to be, and again, this is not a prediction per se. This is just kind of observation based on the two styles. I think that fight might be a little slower than some people might be expecting style wise. You got to fill each other out. This is a crazy style clash, right?
For
And
sure.
yeah,
Go
that's
ahead,
like
Joe.
one of the things too, where it's got me like, I
Yeah,
don't know how I really feel. Like you said, it's 50,
right. 50
but
50.
it's like how you were saying with Fedora.
Yeah.
Fedora, he's having fun right now,
Oh,
like
yeah. Yeah.
boxing
Yeah.
wise.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's going to come in and letting his hands go. Like when you
Yeah.
watch his previous fights, like he's a
Mhm.
thump, really,
Mhm.
for a big dude.
Yeah.
Then he going to have that range on him. Like my whole thing is, how is Spitz going to come out? And
Right.
that's why I can't really like,
Right.
say like
And
how
we
I
wonder how you gonna be thinking too
Right.
mentally.
exactly. Like
Yeah.
I do like the fact that rumor has it he's going with Bozzy to train over in Philly now.
But that's what they
So
said.
that's what the news that I've been seeing
I heard
recently.
another
Oh,
rumor. I heard
Bozy.
another rumor. I heard
Mhm.
What's
another.
the other
No.
rumor you heard?
Oh, and the other one was who was he training with last fight?
Well, you
Yeah,
talking
Derek
about
James last time, but
he was with Derek James last fight. I
Yeah,
know
but
that.
it was a Mexican fighter he was actually training with. I forget his name. Uh, and he helped him out with one of the previous fights with a power punch. I thought I saved it, but I did not.
You talking? I think you might be talking about
pretty interesting.
Charlo. Charlo brought in the
Carlos trainer.
Say it again.
I'm like
Carlos
Juan
started working.
Guzman or whatever his
Yeah,
I think you
name
might.
Guzman.
Yeah, I
was.
think Juan Guzman came in for Charlo
Mm-hmm. And
against
rumor,
Canelo.
yeah, I
Okay.
seen a rumor
Yeah,
too that he went
yeah,
with him too
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
So I don't really know where he's
It's
truly
gonna be
at.
interesting. See
Floating
that?
around.
That's interesting only because you would think Boots would make, at some point wanted to fight Spence. He went over there to try to be his mandatory, but now you
Right,
training with him. So I would
right.
think I don't
See,
know if
But
they
the
want to
I heard.
trade
rumors
war
talk
secrets to
about
a potential
retirement
future
after.
opponent.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
Well, I mean, I heard something a little different,
mm,
and
What you hear?
I'm almost kind of sort of maybe believing it based on some interactions. I'm hearing that Spence might be over there with Calvin Ford and them.
Hmm.
That's
mm,
what I'm hearing. When they asked Calvin Ford about it, he just kind of smirked. He didn't. It wasn't like a deny or you know what I'm saying. Like he was just smiling and smirking about it. I think he over there with Calvin and them, to be honest with you. But nothing's official. We haven't heard, right? But also that's the mystique of this fight, right? You know, Spence is with a new team. We're not saying that Spence about to be this brand new fighter come
nah.
October. You know, those things take time.
Yeah.
And also he has an amazing skill set already. So it's like, what can Calvin Ford give him? What can he do for him to make him a more well-rounded fighter? You know what I'm saying? So all those things is going to come into play for this fight. Totally new setup for Errol Spence. Some habits that he has, he may have to break them. You know what I'm saying? Calvin may have to help him break them. So that's why for me, I don't see it as a 50-50 fight. But in this case, I see it as a 50-50 fight if he's trying to implement new tactics, new styles, into this fight. And this is a bigger fight, right? That's what makes it a little bit more of a 50-50 fight for me. But again, it's not a breakdown. We'll break it down another time. This is a very interesting fight. Spence is an interesting dude, you know what I'm saying, with all this stuff he got going on. So it's a lot to take in consideration, but as it unfolds, we'll dig into it more. It's so much more we could say right now, to be honest.
I feel like it's just a lot up in the air.
It's a lot up,
and it's just with Spence. Like, I think we know what we're gonna get from Fedora.
We know we're gonna get from Fedora.
With Spence, it's like, he's a mystery man right now. Like,
he is a mystery. He's back training. He's been on IG. You see him running. You see him doing all the different stuff. So he's definitely back, getting himself together. So. And it'll unfold. He's a guy who posts on social media and stuff like that. Things will start to come out. I'm hearing a few things, fellas. I ain't gonna lie. I'm hearing a bunch of stuff, seeing a bunch of stuff. May not be worth it talking about it here, but we will talk about it as far as Spence's career and where he's trying to go. You know what I mean? Where he wants to go. But we'll get into that, man. So. Any other comments about that?
I think beyond everything that's going on, stuff circling Spence, as far as the business or the fights and stylistically, an honest question that he's going to have to ask himself beyond what nobody says, what the fans say, what the promoters and the boxing industry, how really is your mental after this? I mean, you just took the biggest fight of your career.
Mm-hmm.
You just took a loss, really a high level, like one of the worst losses I've seen. Honestly, I'm not saying anybody could lose a fight, but the hype that was around that fight to be able to lose in that way, to not even compete in that fight. It's going to be interesting to see what his mental is, because before that fight, he had people named him the boogeyman. He was the Terminator. And so everything kind of what he said was turned against him. They were saying he the eye collector. His eye, he had to get the cataract surgery. They said, I'm gonna walk you down, whatever, I'm gonna break your will. In that fight, it's looking like his will was getting broke, but he just kept getting up. So it's a lot of stuff, hard questions I think he's gonna have to ask. And when you just add that on to where the accident, I think a lot of people not really take into account physically what that accident did to him. I think it really kind of changed his trajectory of his career. I do think he was ascending before that. So to have that type of traumatic experience, and I just think in prior fights to this, he was showing chinks in the armor, and then it came full-fledged. So I do think I want to see mentally. I know he's strong mentally. He had to be strong to battle back to even get in that position for the fight. So I want to see now how he bounces back mentally, taking his first loss and taking it in that fashion. And now you're losing your trainer. And then, so it's a lot. I'm very interested to see how this do. I like Spence as a fighter. So I want to see what he does in this.
Word. I think that's one of the reasons why I like him as a fighter also, is because he's pretty, just for what we see on social media, what he posts on social media, he seems to be a mentally strong dude, right? I've seen some of the conversations that he had, even after the fight, dudes was talking about like how bad the loss was. You have boxing pundits talk about he should retire and all these different things. And I love his responses. He like, yo, for lack of a better words, I ain't gonna cuss right now, but he said, yo, y'all sound like a bunch of ussies. Like, you know what I'm saying? He said, y'all the kind of guys that get chased from home from school. You know what I'm saying? I'm not one of them dudes. Like, I'm not, this doesn't change me. This doesn't make me feel like I should retire because I got one bad loss, or I should, you know what I'm saying? And all that sounds great. We'll see how he actually performs. That's the talking, but it sounds
Wilder
like.
got some shots still.
Say it again.
I said Wilder got some follow-ups. Spence don't allow a few follow-ups. So
Sure, for sure. Absolutely. As 100%. We're gonna get to that too. But if his mental toughness is anything, anything like he's projecting it is, I'm hoping that he'll be okay to compete. This fighting in a different weight class might be just what he need for his body. He's been saying it for a long time. Bud even said it, was saying it too. It's just tough to make that weight. It's just at this point, Spencer's been fighting at this weight his entire career.
About over a decade, ain't it? Like 11, 12 years.
Yeah. And you talking about dudes that walk around at 170, 180 on the off season. As you get older, it just naturally becomes harder to lose weight. And he was losing weight even without a nutritionist for a lot of times. He was just doing it his own way, you know what I'm saying? Sweating, putting on the bag suit. So, a lot of variables there, man. But we're gonna see, man. We're gonna see how he does, and we're gonna see how Fundora. I don't want to take anything from Fundora. We're gonna see how he comes in fights, man. I have to give it up to Fundora for not using his traditional particular style against Tim Tszyu, and he posed a lot of issues for Tim Tszyu. I'll be honest with you. I didn't think he was that good in that fight. Tim Tszyu. I thought he was, not Tim Tszyu, I'm sorry, Sebastian Fundora. But his consistency is what won that fight. Being consistent, being committed to that jab, being committed to sometimes throwing a 1-2 when it was there. If Tim Tszyu wouldn't have got that, I thought he might have got a concussion, but if we wouldn't have got that injury, might have been a different fight. Maybe not. Who knows, right? But to taking nothing away from Fundora, he did a good job. He deserved this fight. This fight come with a big bag. He deserved this bag. You know what I'm saying? So go get it, my brother.
Yeah.
Let's move on, man. Real quick. Nico Ali Walsh, right? So Nico Ali Walsh is the grandson of Muhammad Ali. He also has a brother. His brother actually does. His brother's not a boxer. His brother does MMA. So they're both into the combat sports. But I just wanted to get y'all thoughts, man. I wanted us to kind of take a look, maybe even a critical look at Nico Ali Walsh and see how y'all kind of feel, style wise. I kind of feel like he flies a little bit under the radar, in my opinion, and I think that's because of his opponents personally. But we'll talk about that, man. We'll see how you feel. AT, I know you have some thoughts on it, so go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I haven't watched his most few recent fights, but I've been watching him from afar overall. And I seen him live fighting in Atlanta on the Shakur Stevenson, Jamel Herring card. So he's a guy I think he got a lot of pressure, first of all, just off his name.
Yeah.
His grandfather, arguably the GOAT, Muhammad Ali. So anything he does, even if he has a good performance or a bad one, and from what I see, he has some skills, but I do think he's a really raw fighter. So he got a lot of things to work on, I think, as far as defensively a little bit. So I don't think they're matching him too tough to where he's at the point where he's having to show or grow for a lot of things. Now, I do know he did suffer an initial loss recently. So I hope he's in the gym working on different things. But I think with him, like I said, I think he's with Top Rank. So Top Rank is good on building fighters. We all believe that. They build you up well, but it is things he's gonna have to work on. And I do think the spotlight on him, if he progresses enough to get in bigger fights, that's gonna be a heavy weight to carry. That's heavy. You coming out there rocking that same type boxer shorts that your grandfather did. It just honestly, I don't really want him to. if I was him, I would probably try to shy away from that. Try to create your own name. Don't really like, piggyback off that because
I agree. Yeah.
you're never gonna meet that standard. That's like LeBron's son, man. You just don't do it, man. You're not gonna meet that standard. So just blaze your own trail.
Blaze your own trail. Yeah.
Build yourself up, and we'll see what's gonna happen. If I hope he's truly devoted to the sport. Because some people, my grandfather did it. I'm trying it, and then as soon as adversity hit, I don't want to do it no more. So I hope that he's truly dedicated to doing this. And if he is, he got potential.
Right. Joe, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, he's interesting to watch. Like I actually look forward to watching him fight. Like AT said, that's a big thing for him is that cloud that's above him, like Ali's grandson. You know what I mean? Everybody's going to expect kind of greatness from you, or they're interested to see. But the one thing about his character, I noticed, like he don't play off being Ali's grandson. I think it's more of the critics. You know, it's the first thing about him. Oh, Ali, this is his grandson. So I think every eye is going to naturally look to see what he does, but he's not like a boastful person where you're like seeing that. And I think the story behind it is very like interesting. He didn't make the decision until like later. You know, he was, grandpa fought. I want to do it. I guess his moms didn't really want him like to fight or whatever because the relationships. But it's like he's an interesting story because it's kind of like a Creed Rocky.
Yeah.
I watch it like when you really want to look at it that way. It's like, which is kind of cool, and I think it's kind of cool for boxing right now. But I hope he don't build into that hype and just keep building because he shows some good things, man. And I think once he, saying he has the opportunity to possibly become something great. Like he definitely got work to do. Definitely got the work to do. But yeah, he shows a lot of good things.
Yeah, I agree with you, fellas. He definitely has some. He definitely has some raw talent for sure. And he has some ways to go. He's 9-1 right now. Has his rematch coming up later this month with a guy that he lost to, Sona Akale, I believe that's how you pronounce his name.
Hakuna Matata.
Wonderful phrase, which is good. Which he faced a little adversity, gets a chance to redeem that, right that wrong. As far as just stylistically, I like him. I think he's decent stylistically. You can tell that they're really kind of taking their time to build him up. They're not throwing him in no real firefights, no real strong opposition. They're just really taking their time, build him up. So he's going to be a built-up fighter. But I'm looking forward to seeing what he does against better opposition when that time comes. There's no rush. You don't have to jump in there with somebody and then, get beat to sleep. And take his time and build him up. I don't have a whole lot to say about him. It's just interesting coming from that Ali lineage. It's got to be a ton of pressure on him. People say, you even hear the commentators talk about it too. Like you can't talk about Nico Ali Walsh without talking about his relationship, his connection to Muhammad Ali. So unfortunately, until he, reaches certain heights, he's always, even then, he's always going to be in the shadow of his grandfather because he took this, he chose this profession, right? He chose this profession. You're always going to be linked. But I think when I watch his interviews, he really sounds really good. He's very humble when it comes to the Ali lineage and being a part of it and wanting to honor it. So in those aspects, I really dig it. As a boxer, he's coming along. He's you could tell they work a lot on fundamentals. And he's dropping these guys for the most part. He's getting rid of these dudes. So interested to see what his future holds. Interested to see what he looks like against bigger opposition once that time comes. We'll really get to see what he's made of once he fights.
You know the date of that rematch?
The 29th. The 29th.
Okay. Yeah, and check that out.
Yeah, it is Yeah, June 29th.
Okay.
June 29th. So that's the date of the rematch. I'm
Now,
definitely gonna tune.
And he's fighting on that Teofimo card on that?
I believe so. Hold on one sec. I'll tell you right now. This is the they're fighting in Miami Beach. I think that is a Teofimo card.
Okay, I would definitely check that out.
Yeah, I think that's I believe that's a Teofimo card. So yeah, Nico Ali Wash, man, we watching you, and we hoping for the best, for you. Get out there and get busy. Let's move right along, fellas. So very recently we watched Usyk dethrone Tyson Fury, right? His first official loss against Usyk. It was announced last night also that they're doing a rematch in December. So
21st.
Yes, December 21st, as a matter of fact, my nephew's birthday. So it's gonna be interesting to watch. But Usyk, as of right now, is the top of the food chain, in my opinion, when it comes to heavyweights. So when that fight happened, of course, new pound for pound rankings came out. ESPN, Ring Magazine, all of your major outlets, and many independent outlets as well, put out their own pound for pound rankings. What I wanted to do is I wanted to go over ESPN's pound for pound ranking, see how we feel, what we think about it, and then us kind of talk about who we feel should be on a pound for pound list. We don't necessarily have to have 10 people. You could say, these 5 people should be on a pound for pound list or whatever the case may be. But going over it real quick, based on ESPN, number 1 through 10, number 1, they have Alexander Usyk. He was previously ranked at number 3. By the way, this was updated May 22nd. So Alexander Usyk, he was previous number 3. Number 2, they have Terrence Crawford. He was previously ranked at number 1. Number 3, Naoya Inoue, who's number 3. He was previously ranked at number 2. Dimitri Bivol, they have at number 4, previously ranked at number 5. Canelo Alvarez, previously ranked at number 4. Arturo Beterbiev, number 6. They also had him ranked at number 6 previously. Number 7 is Devontae Davis, previously ranked at number 7 as well previously. Number 8, Shakur Stevenson, previously ranked at number 8. Number 9, this is interesting to me. Jesse Bam Rodriguez, got him at number. They got him at number 9. He was previously ranked at number 9. And at number 10, Teofimo Lopez, previously he wasn't ranked, but now they got him at number 10. number 10. Joe, what are your thoughts on this ESPN pound for pound ranking?
You get the order, obviously, like I said, I think that's going to be more argumentative. Some of the top 5 fighters, is a lot of fighters I kind of agree with up there. Like you said, when you get down to the bottom, or whatever, some of the people that they got on the list, or whatever, to me is questionable. I like Shakur being on there, but Boots or whatever, even though he ain't got too many opportunities, like where's he at in these talks,
right?
Or whatever, what I'm saying, I would expect Boots over Bam Rodriguez, and I seen there was another one that had which I kind of like, was it Junto Nakatani?
Yep.
Yeah, I like him. But yeah, outside that, they didn't do too bad. There's just a few people that I would have. They got Tio. I'm not too much of a fan of Tio. I think I want to see more of him.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But not too bad of a list. You know what I'm saying?
AT. They started strong, but they had a spark when they started.
But now it's just garbage.
With the Usyk, I'm good with that. I mean, I think him, Crawford, and Monster, anyway, all of those as a whole, those are probably my top 3 fighters. However way you want to put it, that's your choice. But I think based off their skills and their accomplishments, you can make a case for all of them. They all been undisputed, and they all don't won multiple divisions, and they all, I think, 2-time undisputed. So
Yeah.
Based off that, however you want to shake that up, that I'm fine with that.
Right.
Then started going along. Bevo, I like Bevo, and he's skilled and he's done good in his division, but I don't know if he should be that high. And like I said, I'm a big stickler as far as pound for pounds. Is if you win in your division and you go and conquer in other divisions also, because that's letting me know, okay, I'm not just comfortable in this zone. I don't have to make sacrifices, move up or adjust things. So Bevo, I like him, but I don't know if he should be that high. Canelo's been holding it down for years, and he lost to Bevo, so I can see. I mean, Bevo being higher than him, but that's really only one division. And technically, when Canelo went up there, he been up there as a smaller fighter. He put up a fight, but he got beat. I mean, no issue with that. Better be, like I said, he's another one. He's a destroyer, great fighter, but he's only been in one division. You know, it was going to be interesting because we was going to see that fight yesterday, but Bevo had to back out against B-Ball. So I think right there, they probably would have determined they fate against each other as far as they ranking if they would have met up, which I think that's supposed to be later in the year. Tank, I do think he should be maybe a little higher. I think a lot of what he's doing is getting downplayed, but he's gotten multiple divisions and fought multiple fighters and won. Shakur, the same thing. They're being downplayed. Jesse Ben Rodriguez, you definitely ain't done enough to be on the pound for pound list. And then I think one of them fights I swear, man, I think he got a gift in one of those most recent fights. I can't remember which one. I would have to go back, but he struggled bad to the point where I thought he lost. So if you are already early in your career and getting in them fights where you almost losing, then nah. And a lot, and Tiafimo, of course, he kind of was living off. He's really had 2 great wins in his career, but all the other stuff kind of been questionable. He had a great win against Loma. He had a great win against Josh Taylor, but we see both of them really is not the same fighter they were. So those are good wins, good name wins and quality wins, but I don't think that's enough to keep you on the pound for pound list, considering you had questionable performances his last few. Jermaine Ortiz, I think, beat you, but they was never going to give him that. I think Sandor Martin gave you trouble. And then I think it was another fight. I can't remember who, but he questioned if he had it. I think that was Sandor Martin. Then he lost to Cambosis.
Yeah,
so
that was Martin.
I think, like I said, he don't got nowhere to be on there at this point. And I do think they're also, even though Devin Haney just lost, which, I mean, you want to knock him off the list, fine. But before that loss, nobody was saying that. So he was undisputed and he had got some quality wins and he was still striving. So if we're going to do this to take you off the list off one loss, then it's a few people who shouldn't be on there. Like I said, because Canelo got cleaned up in his loss, but he's still on there. So I don't think he should really. I kind of go by skill sets, and I more so pound for pound is I look at it as if A and B, every fighter is the same size and got the same skills, and they fought. Who would I favor in that match? So that's how I look at my pound for pound. But then you got to sprinkle in accomplishments and little work they done to kind of differentiate it. But like I said, they started strong, but then they lost their way towards the end, as far as fighters.
Yeah. I think both of y'all pretty much hit it on the head. I feel the exact same way as you guys, as far as the
even Errol Spence too. I mean, he was on there, so he had one loss, and now he just gone.
Yeah.
Even if you dropped it, some people were saying he was dropped. Him and Bud was 1-2 or however.
Right.
Yeah, one loss.
So now he's done. Right.
You ain't better than Bam or Teofimo.
You ain't drop them. You totally pushed them off. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing about these lists. That's trash to me for the most part. You look at this list, you look at Ring Magazine, and a lot of that is exact same. Like what you said, Spence was, like you said, probably number 2, and had been on a pound for pound for a long time. You got one loss. I can see you dropped him down, but you got rid of him, right? But we know a lot of these lists are politically engineered, for better words, right? But as far as, like I said, you guys said everything that need to be said. It started off pretty decent. for the most part, I guess I may be in agreement with the first few. I may have some contention with that, but it's not a lot of argument there. As you go down the list, it just get
They
whacked.
took Fury off too. I said, damn.
Yeah, like it's crazy, right? So, and but that just shows the subjection or how subjective it is for these lists, right? At, you gave us some of your criteria of how you would kind of gauge who should be on and should be not. Mine is kind of similar, right? I'm going to go off of accolades, what you've done, what you achieved, or the highest achievers. I also go off on to be the man, you got to beat the man, right? You know what I'm saying? If you beat that guy who was that high up on the totem pole, then you should be that high up on the totem pole, in my opinion, right?
Great point.
Yeah. So even looking at different weight classes, in the lighter weight classes, you will see movements, guys fighting in this weight class, that weight class, whatever. At the upper weight classes, you're not going to see a lot of movement. You're not going to see anybody in the heavyweight division change. They're going to be heavyweight for their entire career. You're not going to see 168ers. You're not going to see a lot of 154s move up and down. So I would distinguish them being on the pound for pound list a little bit different than how I would do with the guys who are in the lower weights. With that being said, fellas, Joe, man, who do you feel like should be on your pound for pound? You can list 10, you can list 2, you can just kind of break it down slightly. What's your feeling? And then and real quick, with your answer, AT gave me some of his criteria. I gave you some of my criteria. What's important to you? What matters to you for a guy to be on that list, or a girl to be
that? For the criteria, you got to have the accomplishments.
Sure.
You got to be moving the division. You know what I mean? If you one of those guys where, you're that guy that they're coming for or whatever, you got to be that guy and willing to take actions or whatever. So that's that big thing for me. Who you fought and your record need to show that as well. Yeah, I mean. But to get into my list, what Usyk just did, you got to kind of have him at the top is the way I kind of look at it. He went through some guys, Fury, Joshua. So he did what he did. I do have Crawford at 2. Then I have Inoue. And this is the one where I started feeling a little different at. And I kind of put Tank at 4, then Bivol at 5. Or whatever. That's how I have it there. I got Better Beef. Actually, I got Canelo, then Better Beef. I got Shakur on the list. I got Boots on the list. And I got Fury at the bottom. At that. So. Good
list.
Actually, it's Fury and Spence both at the bottom right there.
Gotcha.
I'm curious. I'm just curious, and maybe I'm just stirring the pot, but you got Boots on it. What in your eyes? What makes Boot a pound for pound a top 10 fighter at this point?
That was gonna be my next question.
For me, it's just like I just feel like fighters have been avoidance. He got the talent there.
Okay.
So I think that's just one of the things for me. Like you see the rise of where he could do. But he just, even though he hasn't had those fights, that's why I got him at the bottom, because I feel like once he get those few fights, he's going to be right there on your top 10.
So let me ask you this then, since we brought it up. So like, how much does prestige and ability, or should I say, even more so than just prestige and ability, but like potential plays in the role of your pound for pound list? For example, we just brought up Boots. It is completely evident that he's a monster, right? And that he's going places and he's positioning himself right now to do some crazy things. But he hasn't done crazy things just yet.
No.
You know what I mean? So how do you guys factor that into your rankings?
I can't put you on there if you ain't did nothing of major note yet.
Right.
He has the ability and the skill set, and I preface this by people saying, well, you just might not like him, or I love him. I seen him live, and I love what he represents and his potential. But
Yeah.
I just think at this point,
Mhm.
there's more. If we got a list of 10,
Mhm.
I think of that 10, I think there's 10 of more that have done more than he's done.
Sure.
Now, a couple years from now, 2 or 3 years, he might clean up everything, and then he has his case. But I don't think he has that just yet, especially with his last couple fights. Like I said, I like him, and I just got a few questions I need answered. I need to see what's going on as far as that cutting off the ring stuff. Because when he fought that Karen dude, he won every round, but I seen frustration in this fight where if the dude wasn't just sitting there trading with you, you didn't cut off the ring, and then you started head hunting and different things like that. So I need to see that. I need to see more fights on a higher level where you're going to get a fighter in there who's thinking with you or who's not blown away or enamored by your physical talent and skill. So just yet, I'm not going to put him there. That's really probably accomplishments. It's probably. I don't think he's done enough yet, and especially the IBF didn't help him by emailing him that belt. But
no, they did not.
I'm gonna leave it off like that, bitch. Son, you wild easy to get at, son.
Right,
Puffing
right.
them, they gonna be there when it go down.
You want to add anything to that, Joe?
Nah, like I said, I stand on that. Like I get it.
I respect it though.
You gotta, say you do need to get those accolades. I just feel like with him, they coming, and like when you start, so you take like how they got Bam on there. Yeah, Bam doing work on his division. What he's like light welterweight, whatever he is.
Right.
But when you start looking at him, like you say, you put them side to side. Who you think is winning? Who you think is winning?
Yeah,
Boost is going.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. I can respect that.
That's a good. That's a good.
Good point.
Good point.
So that's just my only thing there. That's why I got him at the bottom of the list.
Sure.
Because once you get there, you can have arguably you can say Spence, but at the same time too, I like to see that pound for pound list. You ain't losing.
Right.
But I mean, even if you did lose, it's how you come back. So when you look at Canelo, he lost, but look how Canelo has came back. Like saying he polished the skill up and he's knocking people down or whatever. So it's like one of those things. And like Fury, I had to drop him because in the past few fights, you got lucky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's some fights you the champ. I give it. They're gonna give you more time to play in it or whatever. But at the same time, you've been hitting the mat or whatever, damn near every fight.
True.
Or whatever. You've been getting a lot of long counts. You know what I mean? So it's like, you gotta fall back. And Spence, even though I had him at the bottom, how you lost was just bad.
Now, where did you have him before that fight, though? Where did you have Spence?
Before that fight, I did have him up there like 2-3 or whatever.
He lost.
But it was
respected.
How like pound for pound wise, like, and I love Spence. You know what I'm saying? Hey, our birthday both on the same day or whatever. Like, I love watching him fight and everything. But at the same time, it was just like, how you fought. It was like, where was all of that at? But then, like you said, it's the car crash. It's a lot of that stuff. This fight would say a lot, but he didn't come to that ring as previous Spence. Like, he was different in that fight. So it's like, I put that to him because I think it is going to drop. But, so I respectfully put him down just towards the end or whatever.
Do you think any activity or just you think that was a perfect storm that caught him? Or do you think the inactivity could have caught up to him and that was just an off night for Spence? Or you just think like way he looked, he don't need to be in the list at all?
Nah, I think it was just that perfect storm. I love watching Crawford fight. I've been watching him fight for a while, and I was like, this dude is special or whatever. Something talented about it. And just when it comes to technique, I think he came across a fighter, and I think Boots will, with a lot of people, is embarrass you or whatever. And he just came across that with Boots or whatever. And I don't mean to drop him down big like that, but now you talk about Bivol or whatever, and this is where I started kind of comparing the losses to. Now you got a loss. You got Bivol still above you. You got Tank above you. Now you got your Canelos, and I had to put those guys up first, so it was like kind of dropping them down for, like I said, just how that happens. But I want to see how he come back. He can come back, knock Fedora out take another fight, and he raised back up on that list, but he's still on the list. So
that's a good analysis. I like how you explain that. That was good.
Hey T, do you oh go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying like, what you think, Bo? Like,
well, I was gonna shoot the AT to see if he had a list or he had any guys he felt like should be on that list or whatever the case may be.
I thought I broke that down on there, but
did you?
Like I said, my 3 was Usyk,
okay,
Usyk, Bud, and Monster. However you want to put it, they all kind of disposable.
Oh, okay.
I think they're the top 3, but
okay. So that's what you was going. Okay.
Yeah. I just went down the list and just broke it down, but
gotcha.
I was just It was
gotcha. Okay. No, I was the reason why I came. I do remember you saying that. I just came back to see if you had to add any more to it. I know you were saying ESPN had the first few correct for the most part. So yeah, man. For me, just and to even break down the criteria a little bit, which I already did, as far as like, accolades, beating the person, who's above you, should shoot your ranking up. I think another thing that we kind of touched on, but I don't know if it should be. I mean, it could be a part of the ranking system is when you lose, do you go off the list? Do you drop down a spot? Do you drop down 2 spots? So it's always interesting on on that particular aspect, right?
Yeah.
Also, my particular list is also not sexist, especially if we're talking about accolades. Clarissa Shields would be number 1 on the list. When it comes to my personal pound for pound list. As a matter of fact, she's getting ready. She just announced she's getting ready to do something that no boxer has ever done before, which has become 4-time undisputed champion of the world. And she's already the fastest undisputed champion. Now, I do understand that in women's boxing, it's just a handful of chicks. You know what I'm saying? Like, but that's not her problem nor her fault. She fights who they put in front of her, and that's what happens, right? It's kind of the same thing when people try to give Terrence Crawford a little bit of pushback on some of his earlier career, right? Oh, he didn't fight, and I've been critical of it myself, right? But being honest, he fought who they put in front of him. It's not really up to him. You line him up, you knock him down, right? So the same thing when it comes to the females. It's just not a lot of females, but she has fought the top of the top female boxers, period, in the sport. So she's probably my number 1 pound for pound boxer. Not only is she beating these chicks, she's like blowing them out the water. You know what I'm saying? Just completely wiping the floor with them. She gets a little bit of pushback because she don't be knocking everybody out. But for me, knockout is not the end all be all of winning anyways. Getting the win is the end all be all of winning, right? But I would have to put her up there. I would have to put Monster Inoue up there. We just recently saw him have some controversy and then come back and drop homie and get him up out of there. He's definitely one of my favorite fighters. Would love to see him fight in the States, but they're like, for what? You know what I'm saying? He get in the bag, he's selling out, he doing everything in Japan, and they coming over there to fight him. So we may not see him in the States. It sounds like they don't have no real interest to come over to the States because what they're doing in Japan is comparable. So I would love to see him though. You know what I'm saying? That would be one. I didn't write a list down, fellas, so forgive me. But I'm just kind of going off the top of the dome. I would definitely have I got Canelo on there for sure. I don't know if I have Canelo as highly ranked as a lot of these other publications do, and these journalists and things like that. I have him on there, but maybe not as high. Canelo is incredible though. It's no real way around it for me. I also have, who else I got on my list? I got Katie Taylor on my list, man. Katie Taylor is one of the greatest. You know what I mean? No way around it. Like what she's done, most boxers haven't done. So I got her on my list. Hold on. Who else did they have on their list that I had on mine? So they also had
Serrano.
Who's that?
Serrano, Amanda Serrano.
So you mixing the men and women as far as your pound for pounds?
Yeah, my pound for pound is it has both. Yeah. I mean, I guess we could do.
I
I guess
keep
we could
those
do a separate
separate.
one. Yeah, we could. We
But
we could.
no, you still got good points though with
Yeah,
those
yeah,
fighters.
Yeah.
we could do a separate. I tell you what though. I still have Errol Spence. Well, let me back up. Absolutely, Terrence Bud Crawford is on my list. Terrence Bud Crawford is high up on my list. He's an undeniable talent. As a matter of fact, if you told me he was number one pound for pound, I couldn't argue with you. I wouldn't argue with you. Some people have him at number one. As you can see, ESPN dropped him down to what they got him as 2 or 3 now.
He was my number one before that Usyk fight.
2.
They got him as 2. They got him at 2 right now. It's hard to argue against Usyk not being number one just for what he just accomplished, but I would probably still put Bud above him.
Technical,
right? From a skill standpoint, I'm probably putting him above Usyk. You know what I'm saying? But from a accolade standpoint, Bud got crazy accolades, right? So I will put him above. But I think one thing that might be interesting outside of my pound for pound ranking is who I probably would not have on my list. So let me be a little controversial for a second.
Okay.
And then I have y'all chime in. So just going back to ESPN rankings, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm not even going to touch Jesse Bam. He shouldn't be on nobody's list, but
Uncle
whatever,
Jesse.
right? Tank would not be on my pound for pound list. Shakur Stevenson would not be on my pound for pound list. As far as their list goes, that's of course Bam. Teofimo would not be on my pound for pound list. But let's talk about the ones that matter the most. We don't really care about. We care, but you know what I mean. You guys brought up a good point, right? And when you brought up that point, that's what made me think about Tank, and that's what made me think about Shakur. And we're talking about potential versus actual achievement, right? Shakur, more than even Tank, to me, is a potential versus achievement kind of fighter, in my opinion, right? He hasn't had a big fight. We know that once he gets those big fights, he's gonna get busy. That's not even a conversation piece, right? We know that he's gonna do what he needs to do, but he hasn't done it. And for me, that's what keeps you off the pound for pound list, is that even though you got the crazy potential, and even though we know that you're a great fighter and we're just waiting for these things to happen, they haven't happened. So I could not put you on the pound for pound list against somebody who has made those things happen already, right? I couldn't put Shakur over, let's say, Lomachenko. Couldn't. Lomachenko's been there. He's done it already. Shakur is on his way to doing it. Once he do it, I'll put him there accordingly. Let's go to Tank. This might be a little bit more controversial because people feel like Tank has had some decent sized fights. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I believe that. It depends where you rank Ryan Garcia. I don't. He don't get a ranking from me. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just my personal opinion. He's not ranked anywhere to me. Not saying that he's a terrible fighter, but I don't have him in the top 20.
No.
I don't have him in the top 20, right? Then we look at a couple other fights, him versus Pitbull. I like Pitbull. I don't have him in the top 20. So that to be the man, you got to beat the man is really a big part of my criteria. Not Tank is going to get one of these big fights soon, right? He's gonna get the Lomachenko fight. He's gonna. And by the way, for people saying, "Well, Lomachenko is older," so what? He is who he is. If it's a problem, he shouldn't fight. Go retire, right? Get out the ring. You know what I'm saying? He achieved what he achieved. So once he beat the brakes off of Loma, then that's gonna give him a higher stature in the sport, no matter where Loma is in his career, right? If Jake Paul beat Mike Tyson, who's 60 years old, by the way, who's almost 60 years old, people are not going to say you beat 60-year-old Mike Tyson. They're just gonna say you beat Mike Tyson. Now, us who are thinking people in the
You like,
culture,
hey, you
we gonna be like,
Casuals is gonna say that. The actual boxing fans they're gonna know what's up. Casuals is gonna run with their
right.
narrative.
They're gonna say the man got awesome flare ups. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't beat father time. They see the training clips. Mike is beating the mess out of the pads, and it looks
They
beautiful.
canceled that fight, I believe, didn't they?
Postponed it. They postponed the fight.
Okay.
Yeah, they postponed the fight. And so in the romanticism comes back when you see Mike doing pad work and stuff like that. So all I'm saying is that's the impression, right? That's the impression that you get once you beat the man, no matter where he is in that particular stage of his career. So once those fights happen for me, I'll put them in their proper positions, in their proper places, but I do not have them currently on my pound for pound list. Any
very, very, very interesting. I don't agree with that, but that's
I didn't think you
that's
would.
the beauty. That's the beauty of it. We can agree to disagree.
For sure.
I do think Shakur has had quality wins. I think that Oscar Valdez was a very impressive win.
Who's that?
Oscar Valdez.
I agree. Great win.
That was a unification win. I do think that Shakur has had some good wins. Now, I do think Shakur played himself in this most recent situation with Devin Haney, doing all the stuff with the negotiating, not taking what was given to give a chance to go undisputed. That right there could have really bumped his stock up. Where
if he would have took that fight and won that fight, he would have been no doubt on my pound for pound list, because Devin Haney, no matter how people feel about him, Devin Haney is or was on the pound for pound list. Look at what he's done. You know what I'm saying?
Undisputed.
And look at undisputed. Went over there, took them belt. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So Shakur would have been on my list.
I know so stupid after that fight.
Because he just that was an opportunity, and I actually would have favored Shakur to win that fight because
me too.
He's defensively more responsible than Devin, so I think he would have been able to get a decision. But that's neither here nor there. That's his choice. He made that.
Right.
I do think Shakur has done good work for the people he's fought. I do think that a lot of these fighters don't want to fight him. So a lot of the times you can't get a fight if somebody like Joe Sam the boot situation. I think Shakur is more accomplished, and a lot of these fighters find ways not to fight him. That's like Lomachenko. Avoiding these fights, whatever. Now you choose to fight him now since you done lost a couple times. Now you're willing to fight. But a lot of these dudes didn't want to get in the ring at that time when he was priming and rising. I do think also that Shakur, he didn't help himself with his last performance with De La Santos. So I can understand people dropping him, but before that, and even in that fight, if you're a fan of boxing, he wasn't crazy with the output, but defensively wise, that was really immaculate the way he kind of neutralized that dude. That dude, everybody go at Shakur. That dude didn't want to exchange neither. So it's like De La Santos got a crazy work rate power. So it's okay to blame fighter A, but we don't look at fighter B. So for that, I mean, that's that. I still think he's a pound for pound fighter. Tank, I also think is a pound for pound fighter. I do think he has quality wins. Now, some people, they might not think of them as high, but he beat Dustin Pedraza. That's his first title, undefeated at that time. That was a quality win. I do think that some of these recent fights, he kind of, I ain't gonna say he got the Mayweather format, but he's fighting dudes coming off good performances. When he beat Hector Garcia, he moved up, but Hector Garcia was an undefeated champion who just beat Lil B-Hop, stopped him, gave him his first loss. So that's a quality win. So people might want to dump it. What?
I was just saying, Lil B-Hop.
He about to get into a fight. He about to fight Nair Albright. They about to fight.
Right.
I got to find the date. I'll let you know when the date is. So, but that's on a lower promotion level. I do think the Mario Barrios, people downplayed that win. He went up to 140 and stopped Mario Barrios, who now is the 147 interim champion. Same Mario Barrios, Keith Thurman couldn't get him out of there. Same Mario Barrios that Ugas got punished by. So then we get into Pitbull. Pitbull's a 140 champion. He beat Pitbull with a one hand basically and outboxed him. So I think a lot of his stuff is getting downplayed, and now some of these people, the wins they probably wasn't being looked at as great back then, but they aging gracefully. So
Sure,
Oh
sure.
I
yeah.
do think he's a pound for pound fighter. And like I said, he's went into multiple divisions and done things where you got somebody. I don't want to play that game where I'm propping up one to put somebody else down. But if somebody is staying in one division and reigning, okay, if that division is not the best, we can make a case to say somebody like Triple G. You reigned in that division, okay, but you reigned in there for a long time. You got the most consecutive defenses, like 20 or somebody, Matt B Hop. But who did you really fight that can beat you in that division? I mean, they had him up there, different fights. Same thing like B-Ball. You've reigned in your division and you beat Canelo, so I can see why you get a quality pound for pound look because you beat another pound for pound fighter. But beyond that, who have you really like handled? I think this B-Ball, this Bitter B fight with a big step for him to kind of solidify his ranking as far as that. So
That's
I mean,
interesting.
those two, I disagree, but that's nothing wrong with that. We can
Sure,
agree to
sure.
disagree.
And again, it's the personal, like your personal preference. You know what I'm saying? So that was a dope breakdown. I appreciate that. And then you also said, like, you brought up a good point about Shakur, people avoiding Shakur, right? Which is very true. A lot of people don't want smoke with Shakur. Well, they might want
Especially in
smoke
the
now.
money bag area.
Now you looking
Right.
for it, but you wasn't before the
Nah.
last couple of years. You wasn't.
Yeah,
People.
you weren't
Frank
looking.
Martin
Yeah,
said, "You
you
know
weren't
what?
looking for.
Frank Martin just straight
Right. You
agreed to
wouldn't.
it, and then backed out." So
Right. You wouldn't. Nobody was really looking forward to him. They think they see something now, and they want to fight him and stuff like that. That's why positioning is important. Same thing. Boots. Nobody really wants to fight Boots. Not even the elite big guys want to fight Boots. And Boots had to start positioning himself, putting himself in these positions, whether it be with new promotional companies or whatever the case may be. And when I say positioning, that means getting with the right team who can offer the right amount of bread for these type of fights. That's what positioning means, right?
Yeah.
Where he currently was, it just wasn't happening. It was too big of a risk and too small of a reward to fight a Boots or to fight a Shakur or
I
something
want to
like that.
speak on that when you're done. When you make your
Okay,
point.
for sure. So the positioning power that Boots have now with Eddie Hearn, with the backing of Turkey Al Sheikh, Your Highness, gives him way more power now. Where guys who were hesitant to fight him saying, "Well, now the risk and the reward are at the same places now. If I lose, cool, but I lose with a bag that I may otherwise have not had the opportunity to get."
Right.
So I think those things are important. Put yourself in position. Look at Spence. Nobody wanted to fight Spence in his earlier career. He was dogging these dudes. He was killing them. He was snatching bodies. He was doing all this different stuff. And then he had the opportunity to go over the pond to fight Kell Brook and take what was his and bring it back home. And so he had to do some positioning too. Then he became his is a little bit different because they kind of fell in love with him over there at PBC and started making way for him to do different things and pay out certain bags. But it's all about positioning. Go ahead, AT.
No, I wanted Joe to get his point
Oh, I'm
across.
sorry, bro. I'm sorry.
Then I double back with that Boots and that stuff.
Okay.
I'm trying to get a proper
Okay.
runway for everybody to eat first.
Sorry about that. My fault, man.
But now, you made a key point when you say it is about positioning, because I think a lot of the key points with these fighters, once they get the title and now they got the belt, and it's their first belt, you're not about to turn around and fight Shakur.
Right.
I got this belt. Right. I fight Shakur, I lose my belt, and I lose my money before I'm able to build my money. So I'm gonna go fight this dude, and that's what's like with the Lomachenko fight we was talking about last night. Fight Shakur now, or do you fight Tank? So I'm gonna definitely go fight Tank now because I know I ain't got the chance to get what I could get, or I'm older now. So this is probably gonna be my last fight. If I lose the belt. At least I get my bread. Right. I fight Shakur. He ain't making no money now. This is one of the main things he's bitching about is he wants the bigger bag.
He wants the bigger
bag. And that's how he played himself with Devin Haney.
Right.
The B-side.
And they got mad at Frank Martin because Frank said, I need a bigger bag. Y'all not about to give me.
You did what Devin did to somebody. You did what Devin did to you. Okay.
Right. And I think, that's where, his promotion is probably because, I really got to see what they doing over there with, Mob Ties. But you know what I'm saying? Just outside of that or whatever, yo, get your fights, build your rank up, get your cash or whatever, position yourself the right way. And I think we're in that era. And now with Turkey on the loose right now, yo, he's gonna be putting that money up. Bridging Gap people is enticed by that bread now. And the boxing has been shooken up. You got certain people that lost now, so you got belts floating around. Now you got other people that's like, yo, you gotta fight me now. You know, how long has Boots been like ranked number 3 or 4 in the rankings for the division?
Well, now they gave him the belt, so
yeah, but he's been waiting there like to also get those fights too.
This is what I was gonna say about that. Everybody was saying Boots is avoided, but Boots was the mandatory for Terrence Crawford at the WBO. He willingly went over to the IBF to try to be Spence mandatory. He did that right before that David Evanesian fight. So if Victor Ortiz was the number 1 mandatory for Crawford and Boots was number 2, Victor Ortiz automatic
when it happens. Let's say, but you see what these guys do. You got these other belts. You choose to defend this other belt.
I'm just saying, you saying you want Crawford, but you hopped out of his mandatory slot because Victor Ortiz turned down that shot. Boots was the next guy. So that's why you seen when Bud and Boots was going back and forth on Gilly podcast. He said, I gave you 2 chances and you chose not to.
I understand why you did that. I completely
understand. His father straight out said, we loyal to Showtime. So you wasn't trying to go over the fight, and Showtime folded up. So you lost that slot, whatever. You lost that $1, you could put it in the jukebox. So that right there, I do think some people might not be eager to fight him, but I don't think nobody's avoiding him. Then that's the same thing like with Terrence Crawford. Everybody say, well, he ain't fought the best people, or no. Okay, you can make that assumption, but Terrence Crawford came up to 147 and got that belt off Jeff Horn. He was a champion. So at that time, we started hearing this other side of the street stuff where Keith Thurman's like, well, he need to get a belt. He got a belt. You turned down that fight. Danny Garcia turned down that fight. Errol Spence pushed it off for 5 years. He said, why would I fight you? And I could fight Sean Porter for easy money. So these are things that's visually on tape.
That's what I was going to say.
When we saying somebody avoided, if we saying, I don't want to discredit Spence, his career, because he done what he done. But let's be honest. We don't think that Crawford went out to stop Porter like he did, or beat Danny Garcia or Ugas. So it's kind of if you favor, he beat Porter. He would have beat Ugas. Spence beat Ugas.
I'm sure he would, but
I'm just saying, I'm not discrediting that, but I'm just saying with that, with somebody, he ain't got the opportunity. Let's not act like if he didn't get that, it's a reason why they just stayed away from him. They stayed away from him for a reason. They didn't until they had no choice.
Also, real quick, when I use the term avoid, right, for me, has nothing to do with being scared. I don't think any boxers are scared of any boxers. They shouldn't be. You're in the wrong business if you're scared.
I think some are, but I don't think some in this case. I think it's business more in this case.
I think if you scared, you need to go play football or something, do something different. If you're fearful of a loss from somebody who that's, to me, that's crazy. You're in the wrong business. When I say avoid, me saying avoid really mainly has to do with 2 things: risk and reward. That's really the biggest thing. Risk and reward. This fight at this time can hurt my career, and I ain't gonna see the bag that I should see from it. That's
to me like fear to me. I mean, you can word it how you want.
It's fear on the business end. It's not fear of the actual fight. It's not like I'm scared to get in the ring and fight with these guys. By the way, a lot of these
man. When you thinking about stuff like that, when you going beyond the ring, you sound scared to me. You saying, well,
see, I don't even see it that way.
It might hurt my stock, and I don't want that. Sounds scary to me, man.
Of course,
I don't know how you pushing man.
It's a business at the end of the day. I've heard plenty of boxers talk about the business of boxing, and not that we've talked about the business. All of us talk about the business of boxing, right? But I always see it like that, where it's like, and I've heard other boxers say, it's not a fear thing. I think there has been times where it's been a fear thing, right? There's been dudes scared of James Toney. You know what I'm saying? There's been dudes scared of Roy Jones. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I got a personal story I could tell you about a fighter against Roy Jones as well. So yes, there's been times.
What is it? Let's before you go
I
into
tell you, I tell you off air. I tell you, I gotta tell you off air. I tell you off air. But in this case, I don't think guys are necessarily scared of Shakur Stevenson or scared of. I think that it's a risk reward, and I could be wrong. Time will tell. Time will for sure tell. But I think it's more of a risk reward thing when it comes to. I think when you look at the move that Boots did, wanting to petition to fight Arrow more so than Bud. Yes, it's a Showtime thing, but also it's a money thing. Like at the end of the day, these dudes is businessmen, right? And if you scared, even if you were scared to fight James Toney, even if you were scared to fight Mike Tyson, which is a scary cat, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
In my opinion, you're probably in the wrong business. You shouldn't be scared to fight men. You know what I'm saying? Like you shouldn't be. I ain't a boxer. You know, it might be something different, but I understand the risk reward factor of the business. But anyway, go ahead, y'all. I'm sorry.
Oh no, we made our point.
You good?
Y'all good? We shouldn't do a lot of things we do. We shouldn't eat bad foods. We shouldn't listen to bad music,
you don't want
vulgar music.
You know what I'm saying? Like straight up, right?
I hear what you're saying.
It's a choice.
We always go back and forth, but
sure,
I think some of these dudes is scared. Now they might use code words to try to downplay it. That's what they do. These code words.
Yeah.
Well, he's not exciting, so I don't want to. You basically trying to say you can't cut off the ring, or he be running, or people use these coded language to avoid fights, and then a lot of times you might say, well, somebody might say,
and that's where positioning comes in. Once you put yourself in a place where
but that's what you're doing when you position it. You're avoiding this way.
It's really only a few dudes who really at the top of the food chain. It's really. Maybe you could probably count less than 5 dudes who really is the top dog.
Well, and that's
cash cows and overall prestige. All these other dudes is not up there to the point where you could be avoiding fights.
Sure, and boxing is not in the place where it used to be, where you had multiple stars, right? Like you said, you can probably count on one hand the stars. You know, the big names that's going to ring bells, especially in this particular climate where a lot of people don't even watch boxing no more. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like I said, I think I was talking to you one time, AT, where I was looking at this thing. It said that boxing is in a 50-year decline. You know what I'm saying? A 50-year, or at this point might be 50-year plus decline. Where and the thing that's crazy is when I'm at work or when I used to work outside the house and all the different stuff, I would talk to people about boxing. Yo, such and such coming on Saturday night, and they always say the same thing. Like there's nobody good anymore. I'm like, you don't watch boxing. What you mean there's nobody good? Right. You don't watch, but that's what happened. People don't watch boxing like that. It was very. I
stopped talking. A lot of people, not really many people I do like boxing with, because people just not informed. I don't think that it's not that the sport is dying. People just not informed or just not actively into it. But if you actually into the sport, there's a lot of good fights going on, things like that. But I said, I was just saying, like, the code word now is getting to that point where people try to make them code words. I don't want to fight him. He a runner, or it's not enough money.
Right.
It's not really a guarantee you're going to be getting all that big money from them big fights you holding out for. Right. What if you never get that fight? So
it's a gamble.
You better off fighting these tougher fights. And if you believe in what you do and you get them victories, you open up more opportunities for yourself. Like Prince Floyd was Pretty Boy. He took on everybody who he had to take on to get to that status. Then when you're there, you can be more selective. But before the first 10 years, any and everybody was lined up.
And that's good. Unfortunately, that also hurts the business. That also hurts the sport. We'll talk about that another time. Another thing before we move on here is the media plays a major role, as we know, and they don't even cover boxing on mainstream media no more. Absolutely. They barely cover it on ESPN. They barely cover it. Like You just don't see it, and that's where we come in to inform the people about what's going on
Yeah.
in the sport and quote unquote new media, because boxing is like almost completely in the background. You see more coverage for UFC than you see for professional boxing at this point. You know what I'm saying? And you got people who dedicate their lives from the age of like 10 on up to be a boxer. And to keep it real with you, MMA dudes, a lot of them be like washed up football players. You know what I'm saying? Dudes who didn't make it in this other thing. They go to the MMA gym and then boom. That's not a disrespect or downplay. It's just a reality that boxing just don't get the respect that it deserves.
People don't. They always look for the excitement. People don't look for the the technical side of it. I always expect people, like my little brother, he'd be like, "Man, boxing's so boring, man. It's like it's technical. You know how sharp you got to be to break this man down." And like, this is like, and the great fighters you had like that, your Ali's or your Roy Jones or whatever. It's like, yo, you go to UFC, nothing doubting those dudes, because they work hard to train anybody in a fight like that.
For sure.
And
but you're gonna see a knockout or a chokeout, like
it's knockout, technical or whatever. But it's still UFC is more any given Sunday too. One good punch it can happen in boxing. But the risk of actually happening is more technical.
Smaller gloves. It's closer to a street fight. You know what I'm saying? Like all those different factors. Yeah, man. So listen, real quick, we kind of touched on it a little bit, so we'll come back to it. Is the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson postponement. Mike Tyson had a ulcer flare up on a flight. He was flying to wherever he was flying, and he had an ulcer flare up. Flight was delayed for a while. The reports are saying that Mike is okay, but I guess the doctors suggested that he postpone his fight, rest his body. I'm not sure of that. Oh, they did announce a date, but I can't remember what it was. Do y'all remember what it was with the
new date?
Yeah. No, I didn't see no new date.
Oh, nah, I didn't see no new date. I don't know.
Okay, maybe I'm bugging. I mean, I might still be thinking about last night because Turkey announced a couple of dates, but they ain't got nothing to do with Mike. But man, what's your thoughts on this? Like, do you even want to see this fight? Is this even something that's exciting to you? Do you care about it? Joe, I see you ready.
I watch it because it's entertaining. You know what I mean? But at the same time, too, I do have my beef with it. It was like, I hate the cherry pick fighting that Jake Paul is doing and the hype that comes behind it. Like, he's this great boxer. It was like, if you really want to be considered a boxer or somebody who's great with that talent, actually fight a boxer on their boxing terms. Outside of that, you stealing money from the sport of boxing, creating antics or whatever. And that's the way I kind of see like today's society going. But at the same time, too, I really don't think this fight should happen.
Right.
For not too much just the love of boxing. Like, Tyson's almost 60. Like, and he's having an ulcer flare up. Like, I ain't gonna risk that for a couple dollars, man. Let this man be, or where their promotion is gonna be crazy regardless of the fact, just because of Tyson's brand. And saying, the Paul brothers, they built a great brand. Brian and everything that they do. He with WWE and their YouTube sensations or whatever.
Yep.
This, what I'm saying? I get what you're doing, but this let this one be. They should let this just go ahead and let it go for the sport of boxing. Just let it go.
Anthony.
Yeah, that's, as a fan, just boxing. I mean, I'll tune in whenever it happens, but it's not what I'm anxious to see. I don't want to see 60-year-old man fighting a young boy, and that's just not. I mean, like I say, I guess we live in this side. We just want entertainment, no matter how it we get. We don't care what the person got to go through to get in that ring. It's like we want blood. Come on, man. Why is we even entertaining this? Even we just hoping. We can see how Jake Paul does his fights. He's calculating on who he's picking. He's not just picking somebody where the name is good, but skills obviously eroded or they too old. So we know Mike Tyson, we know if he lands something crazy, he'll probably hurt Jake Paul. But he probably maybe we think he'd probably get 1 or 2 rounds before Father Time kick in, and then it's just probably be a punching bag. So I don't see the game for this, but I guess if Mike need that money, it must be a one you can't resist. Because I think that last one, the Evander Holyfield joint I seen where he
That was
fought
horrible.
that dude.
That was
I
terrible.
was like, before the fight, you be thinking, oh, maybe he got a chance.
Yeah.
Man, the way that one went downhill quick. So
Yeah, it did.
I can see that happened the same thing with Mike, especially Evander. His lifestyle was not like Mike's. We know Mike with the cannabis and all that stuff and probably drinking and just living. So I don't want to see it, but I'm pretty sure that
still on that time. You know,
he's gonna be a meme when it's all said and done. When they show it, he's gonna be a meme, and that's what he's gonna be. Jake Paul pulled him out. So
that's hilarious.
I ain't hearing him really expand on it, but I expect to see him be a meme. That's all I say about that.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's a circus, y'all. It's a circus. The circus is coming to town. Mike is almost 60 years old. We talked about the romanticism of Mike Tyson. People romanticizing about Mike Tyson of the past. When they put out those videos and he's hitting the pads, and I mean, literally anybody I talk to, it's crazy. I'm talking about casuals, right? And they're talking about, oh, Mike Tyson fighting in July. He fighting that Jake Paul boy. He gonna kill him. I'm like, wow. That's what everybody's saying. I'm tuning in for that one. But that's why this sort of thing exists, because it captures the casual fan who probably don't even deal with boxing no more, but they have this romanticized thing about a Mike Tyson or Evander Holyfield, and those people who never buy pay-per-views, boxing pay-per-views, they're gonna buy this one, and that's why this thing exists, right?
That's on Netflix though, right? I don't think they gotta buy it.
No, you do. You still got. It's still a tier. No, it's still a tier.
Okay.
Yeah, just like even with the Amazon Prime thing, there's still a pay-per-view tier. You just watch it through Prime. But so it's that kind of thing, man. I'll be honest with you, like I hope Mike is okay. I'm gonna tune in because it's Mike Tyson. It is not something that I'm anticipating. I'm also not anticipating it to necessarily be the outcome that everybody else is thinking. You know what I'm saying? Like honestly, I just don't think Mike is going to go in there and get super crazy like people think he's going to get in this guy's career, knock him out cold and stuff like that. I hope he proved me wrong, but I just don't see it happening that way. I see, like AT said, he better do something in the first couple rounds, because even in his prime, if he didn't do something in the first couple of rounds, he gassed out at 60 years old. You don't think he's going to gas the hell out? You know what I'm saying? Like so.
You got to catch what's called too,
You got to catch him right. You got to catch this young boy who be running
got
around.
An ulcer prime. Hit him with a nice little left hook to his ulcer. Then go ahead and just...
Yeah, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't even see it happening in the way that a lot of people see it in their mind. Oh, he's going to kill him. I don't think so. But more importantly, there's a full card full of actual sanctioned events, sanctioned fights that are now no longer happening. And I feel sorry for Amanda Serrano. This is her second in a row card that got canceled in some form or fashion. The first one, it was hard to see. She cried. It was the one in Puerto Rico. It was the one in her hometown at home. You know what I'm saying? And that one got canceled. Now here it is, the biggest fight of her career, the rematch on a fight that personally I thought she did enough to win against Katie Taylor. Here it is, a defining moment that's been lost again from her. So she's having a rough go. Same thing with Katie Taylor. This is an opportunity for Katie Taylor to fight her and win definitively, so she don't leave any questions in the minds of people who thought she lost, right? So, and this is for supremacy. This is for, GOAT status, you know what I'm saying? And now we're not going to get that fight, which is a real sanctioned fight, and it throws off everybody, it throws off the whole ecosystem. So that's the one thing that that I hate to see, that I bother. The circus that messed up the whole joint. You know what I'm saying? I wish they would just make her and Katie the main event. Yeah. And in normal circumstances, that would happen, right?
Correct.
Same thing we saw Bivol, better be if he couldn't fight, they gave him a new opponent. But in this case, it's different. Everybody really bought the tickets to see Mike versus Jake Paul. They didn't.
Right.
I'm not saying people didn't buy tickets for Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, but they came to see Mike. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully they're able to reschedule this relatively soon. It'll probably be fall. I would think fall or maybe even later, fourth quarter of the year. Mike, matter of fact, that's what I heard. They said Mike said he wanted to do it in the fourth quarter. So we're going to see it at the end of the year, basically. So, yeah, man. Hopefully we see
it in the winter and his bones getting cold when it start raining outside.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
60 years old. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, it's the circus, man. So moving on to our last point, fellas. I wanted to break down. I know we don't have a lot of time left. But I wanted to talk about, the main event, the main card of the week, which was the 5 versus 5, the Matchroom versus Queensberry promotions, and how some of that went down. Again, because we're running out of time, we won't be able to discuss every single fight and everything. But I'll say this: congratulations to Queensberry Promotions, Frank Warren and his team. They sweep last night 10-0. It was it was a crazy night. I'll be very honest with you. I would have lost money if I would have bet, because I would have bet on a couple of Matchroom fighters. I would have lost money. Something told me not to bet last night, and I didn't. And I'm happy I didn't, because I would have lost all my money last night. A couple of fights that I wanted us to talk about was actually I got the whole card pulled up right here. So at least I did. Where we at? Here we go. So I want to talk about, and maybe we can swing back at another time at a later date and kind of really hash out some of these other ones. But I really want to talk about the most prevalent ones, at least the most prevalent ones to us. Nick Ball versus Raymond Ford. That fight was a hell of a fight. It was a hell of a fight. Nick Ball defeated Raymond Ford, split decision. Very close, very, very close split decision. I want to get you guys' thoughts on that. AT, how do you feel about that fight, man?
That was a very good fight. It's high level skill. Both of those guys really was pushing the pace and working.
Mm-hmm.
I did miss probably the first 3 rounds or so. Then I started catching it from round 4 on. I felt it was based off what the commentary was saying. They were saying it was closer. Ball was kind of starting strong early, but as the fight went on, I thought Ford did get stronger, and then it rocked him a few times late and had him out there. But Ball, he kept battling back. So that one probably it was a good fight, and I ain't gonna say I was surprised by the decision, but it was that chance. When a fight is close like that, it can swing either way. So you really gotta be. Sometimes in these fights, you ain't gotta get off to a fast start, but after a round or two, you better make some adjustment to get established some type of way to win some rounds. I think Ford might have not fully. He might have had a deficit to work off. So when you got a deficit, no matter how you finish, if you started slow, then it catch you at the end. It's just enough to nick you. But that was a good fight, and it really was unfortunate because me and Ramone, we watched for that fight where he won the title the fight before. We watched it at your house when he got the knockout with 5 seconds left in the 12th round. So he said on that fight, I'm moving up to 130.
Yes.
But then he said he hung around. Sometimes you hang around one fight too many.
Too long,
and they just don't work out. You got his belt to.
Very
but I
true.
hope they got a good payday. But Ball, he got that belt. They might send him on a tour to get a couple bags.
Yeah.
You need to have a rematch clause. Some type of fights like that.
Yeah.
These champions really need to lock in a rematch clause so you can get your
that
shot back.
That was a hell of a fight, man. Hell of a fight.
I would love to see the second one of that one.
Yeah, that's all I really got on that one.
Yeah. Joe, how you feel?
Man, great fight. Like you said, I think Ford did put himself in a little bit of a deficit early. But I think he got confused or whatever a little bit. And the only reason why I say that is for the simple fact that Nick Ball, the way he was pressuring him, I don't think he expected for him to continue to pressure like that. That fight, which kind of like threw his game plan off, because like watching it, you see he was trying to jab, but like what's called throw his punch balls and he'd get in there or whatever and start smothering. It was like punch 1-2 smother, 1-2 smother, and he just stayed with that. He didn't get drained until later, I would say in about 6th, 7th round. And Ford tagged him a couple times. You know what I mean? He let him go, but it phased him. I think he might have broke his nose or whatever. That's when he started getting the leaking. But I'm not mad at that fight at all. Like you said, close fight. I think it went to a good fighter or whatever. So, I would like to see a rematch on that. But Ball's probably, like you said, is going to take that tour or whatever before you. You know what I'm saying? And then what's called Ford say he's going to 148. So it's like, go ahead, go handle your business to the next division or whatever. Excellent fight. I think that might be one of the fights that could go down. Talks a fight of the year. Yeah, man, it was a great display.
Right. I agree that definitely might be contender for fight of the year for sure. It was a great fight, man. What I noticed was, Nick Ball was just he was just more active. For every 1-2 shots Ray threw, he threw 4 or 5. You know what I'm saying, for the most part, and he was always kind of a step ahead. But that middle to that ending part of that fight, I feel like Raymond Ford was mounting a comeback. He wobbled him multiple times at that point too. Yeah. He wobbled him, but Nick Ball, even though wobbled, he still threw them punches. He still, he still had that output. He reminds me of, I was saying, he reminds me kind of a Sean Porter. I think you were saying he kind of reminds you of like a Pitbull Sean Porter kind of mix.
Yeah.
So it's one of them styles that's going to be difficult for any and everybody. It's just a lot of volume, a lot of pushing forward. He had Raymond Ford kind of fighting off the back foot at some points in the fight. Ray got it looked like he had started to understand what he needed to do. It was just a bit too late. He was just behind. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Nick Ball had at that point threw like 100 more punches. You know what I'm saying? Like he was just letting his hands go.
Yeah.
So they had and he was like smothering them. Also, what he was doing was, when he would throw his shots, when he would throw his jab hook cross, he would throw it. He was always throwing that little uppercut right in the middle. He was catching with that uppercut, and then he would step. He would step out the way, making Raymond Ford have to reset.
So sharp when he did that though a couple times.
Absolutely.
Like you say, he'd throw it.
Yep.
Step to the side, throw that, and it was so precise. It was
Yeah.
just cleanly making it through the gloves.
Yeah.
He did a lot of pads early in the round.
Sure.
A couple of those punches that got through right around the corner of that bag. Yeah, man.
He threw those particular combinations all night long. Like it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, like the whole night, and it worked. So shout out to him, man. Shout out to him. He did a good job, and it's it could have. I wouldn't have been mad if it was a draw. I wouldn't have been mad if it was a draw.
I thought it would have been a draw.
Yeah. I felt like they was going to give it to Nick because, like I said, I think he did enough, especially earlier, to kind of.
They didn't have no U.S. judges though, did they? Wasn't them all like international judges?
It was Korean. They was from everywhere. It was from everywhere. But I would love to see a rematch. I would love to see a rematch. That would be a dope rematch. Seeing Raymond Ford kind of prepare for that fight, that style. You know what I'm saying? With Nick Ball, this is good for Nick Ball as well, because when he fought Ray Vargas, a lot of people thought that he was slighted. They thought the judges got it wrong, and he was supposed to have won that title as well. So now he got his title. So his confidence is through the roof, man. But dope fight. Moving on. Again, I wanted to talk about some of the other fights, but we just kind of running out of time. Let's shoot over to Bivol versus Malik Zanad. Interesting fight, man. Joe, I'm gonna start with you, man. What's your thoughts on that fight?
Definitely a good fight. I think Bivol was a little bit slow in the beginning, getting the feels on Zanad. I think Zanad stepped up for him to be quick call. I think he was very impressive, which you heard talk about too.
Yep.
Like, yo, you gave him 6 solid rounds before you know what I'm saying,
Right.
at your maker. But but Bivol, man, he came out, he displayed, and like they said, he didn't really knock too many people out like that
Right.
for years or whatever in this division. But he looked it good. I'm definitely interested to see that Better Be fight, whatever. But I think that was a nice display for him, and probably is going to give him a little charge too to get that knockout. So
For sure. Got you, Anthony.
Yeah, that actually was a pretty good fight. I had never seen Zanar before, so he came out there. They said he had a high knockout ratio. He came out there and kind of stood his ground and was punching, and he did well starting off. I think Bivol kind of too probably was thrown off with that because you spend 8 weeks or so training for a different style, and then the last minute you get a different fighter, so you got to reroute. So starting off, I think Zanar started so strong. He landed some shots that Bivol had to wake up to, like, oh, okay, it's real. So then, but I do think Zanar was kind of flawed defensively. He kept that lead hand down a lot. So he was throwing them punches and jabbing and all like that. And that's like, I was watching it with my OG. He was saying, like, I was like, yo, it's going to be a matter of time. Bivol might put together, if Bivol would have put together more combinations quicker, he would have got him out of there. But that's when he got that first knockdown. He did a combo. But after that, Zanar kind of kept trucking along, keep coming. But Bivol, he finished that strong. So that was impressive because he hadn't got a stoppage in, I think, a few years. So to get that, but you always just wish what we would have seen Better Be was there. Better Be.
Right.
So it was a good fight. It probably was a good fight to stay sharp with. So hopefully Better Be get his surgery for his meniscus heal up, and we could definitely see that fight later in the year.
For sure. I agree with you with your assessment as far as it taking him a little bit to kind of figure it out because he's been in training so long for a totally different style, a totally different opponent. So he had to fill him out a little bit. Also, one of the talking points of that fight was how Bivol was kind of pushing forward. He would push forward, but being a high guard. But nonetheless, he was pushing forward. He was kind of jittery. That's not really how he normally fights. So I feel like he had to adjust on the fly, kind of figure out who he was fighting. This is somebody he is not familiar with, doesn't have any interaction with, and he was training for a whole different fight. So he had to be a little bit, I would say, not himself to kind of figure out who he was fighting. And once he figured it out, he figured it out. You know what I'm saying? Once he figured out who he was fighting, this guy, Zanar, likes to kind of like to stay in the middle of the ring and exchange. So once he figured out the style, it was kind of downhill from there. But it was a good fight. Like you said, it was a stay sharp fight. Keep them busy. The worst thing that could happen to a boxer is that they end up sitting around. When fights get canceled or postponed. I'm happy that they did give him somebody so he can stay active and not have to wait this entire time. It might not be to the end of the year. What did Turkey said? He said when the fight was supposed to happen, right? It was supposed. I think he was saying the end of the year or something, December. Or
something like that.
Yeah. So this was good for him because now he got to sit all summer or fall until he can fight again. So I'm happy about that. Yeah, good fight all in all. Not the fight that we wanted, but we still got something, and I can appreciate that. Let's go to the last fight.
You got to squeeze in that Ammo Williams fight, and we got to touch that.
Okay, go ahead. Ammo Williams versus Hamza Shiraz. Yeah, we could talk about that, man. Go ahead, kick it off for us.
That was. I had never really watched Ammo Williams like that, so I was getting familiar with him. So I watched that fight, and initially watching it, when Cat just talking too much and too hype in the ring, I was like, man, he might get brought down to earth quick. So when he got in there, he started off all right, too much energy, anxious, bouncing. And the other Cat was more, I think, was Himaz or whatever his name was. Hamza. He was pretty stationary, like a straightforward, rigid fighter. So Ammo Williams was starting off a little active, trying to get inside, and I think he had a crazy reach disadvantage. So he struggled a lot getting in there. When he got in, he did work with hooks, things
Mhm.
like that. But I do think that was interesting how I think his energy got the worst of him. All that bouncing around, he started wearing down, started getting hit with jabs, then hit with counters, and eventually got broke down. And he talked so much. So when he got stopped, it's like he got dropped, and it was like he got down on one knee and like proposed to him. And he dropped him. So it's like he went to, if he kiss begins with K, or he went to jail or something after that. But that was a good fight while it lasted, man. I enjoyed it, though.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to speak on that.
Awesome. Joe?
Yeah, this was when I started moving around, but I saw the majority of the fight. But it was the same thing. You know, you watching him, I think he did burn out a lot of his energy during the fight. And the Hamza dude, he's a big dude. Like, I didn't realize how much bigger he was from when they was doing all the promotion stuff, like compared to him. But like the reach advantage, then he put the weight on him too when he tried to lock up, and it was just like, yo, it was only how much more longer before you actually burn out. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, this ain't gonna make it at 12, and then stopped it short. Yeah, it's just not happening. But good fight though overall. Still a great fight.
Good fight, yeah, man.
They have Houston too. That make it even more worse because he
say it again.
I said that dude Williams. He from Houston. So
yeah,
you know he probably rode the Charlos or something, doing all that action.
Oh yeah, he got set up though.
Yeah, they have a vested interest in Hamza. There's a lot backing behind him. They're looking to make him like the next big thing. Especially Turkey Al Sheikh is a big supporter, big fan of his as well. So we probably going to see him a lot more down in the future. I was saying in our group text last night, I wouldn't want to be hit by this dude, Joe. You see when he threw that uppercut, he missed. It was like an all-you-can from Street Fighter. Oh my God, bruh. Once he and eventually when he started opening up, his range is crazy too. His range, I don't know if he, might have a jitters, that kind of setting or whatever. So he was very stationary in the middle of the ring for a while, and it took him a minute to start opening up. But when he did, man, he had rockets and bazookas, man. I would not want to be touched by that guy. Emma Williams, who I guess now goes by Tiger Williams.
He was fighting that Tiger. That Tiger.
He was. I'm not super familiar with him. I think I've seen a fight or two prior to this, but I can barely remember those. He's a bit awkward to me. He do a lot of hopping, a lot of bouncing. But even when he threw a lot of punches, they look a little bit awkward to me. And that could be because of the size difference between the two. Yeah. So he's trying to make something happen, trying to get on the outside. But yeah, ultimately, I don't have much to say about that fight, man. It was an interesting fight. But Hamza, man, he looked like he got that country boy strength, man. I don't want no problems with this guy, man. So that was a good fight. Do y'all want to touch on the Du Bois Hargrove fight real quick?
We can.
Okay. I'll start first, as a matter of fact. So it was a good fight, man. First and foremost, shout out to I said Dubois, my fault. Shout out to Dubois, man. He just looked like he getting his mojo. You know what I'm saying? He looked like he getting his thing, man. I know he had a couple of tough losses. He had a tough loss against Usyk, controversial loss in my opinion against Usyk. He's just been at the end, the wrong side, and but he's getting his thing together, man. You know what I'm saying? He got Big Baby Miller up out of there. And then he got a fight, and then he won this fight last night against somebody who totally wrote him off. Prejudging him from sparring that they had, when they were teenagers, and even if you watch the promotion leading up to the fight, he just like, yo, I'm in a totally different class than you. You're not in the same class as me. I'm looking past you and all that. Well, he shouldn't have looked past him because he shouldn't have looked past him. I do think it was some excessive headbutting going on last night. I know in the group message I put that, to me, it looked like the boy might have been swinging ahead purposefully. He may have not. You know what I'm saying? He may have not been doing it, but it's just happened a lot. It was a lot of headbutting going on. It is what it is. And he Swiss cheesed that boy face up from them headbutts. But all in all, he had good footwork last night. He fought well. he was in the best shape of his entire life. You ain't never seen him look like that. He looked great. And I think that this win means a lot to him for a couple of reasons. One, this is kind of a rival. Hargrove is kind of a rival for him. I put them up in points for Queensberry Promotions, but also it puts him in better positions, right? It puts him in better positions. As you see, when AJ was in the ring last night, they was talking about potentially him versus AJ, and he called out AJ. They're actually good friends, but he wants the AJ fight. So now he's finally about to start getting them looks that he has been wanting, that he's been vying for. So I think his future is looking pretty good, fellas. So AT, what you think?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. Yeah, I do think he earned that AJ payday. I mean, that's when you fight somebody coming off a good win, that's a good momentum boost. So I wouldn't mind seeing it, but I do think that fight, he showed he really had a good chin, Dubois, because he took a lot of shots. I thought he started strong, but I honestly thought he probably was gonna get caught with something to get took out. So he truly surprised me by winning that. He took some fire to throw his, and when he landed his, he changed the whole trajectory of that fight. So I was impressed with that, because I kind of did think that mentally, I didn't know if he was fully recovered from that Usyk fight. I thought he got basically beat Usyk, but with the long count, and I thought mentally he just never recovered after that. Usyk got him out of there. Then when he beat Big Baby,
Right.
I didn't know if that was really him or just Big Baby so out of shape. So that one I wasn't sure on. I was like, the boy, he got it. But this one was impressive. So he really impressed me with this one. I hope he get that AJ shot.
Yes, sir.
He
Joe.
got a strong chin too. He took a lot of fire. So
He took
I
tons
don't
of
like that. I hope he tighten up that defense or get them hands a little higher in the future, because I don't think you can keep taking them shots he was taking.
Nah. But yeah, this was one of the fights that, like I said, I didn't catch too much of.
Yeah.
But I did see, like I said, I did see them boys trading punches left and right. Or what, it was just like bombs was going off. But like I said, I did see him, nice footwork or whatever, nice handling or whatever. But like I said, I would like to see that the Anthony Joshua fight, whatever with him. But good fight, like I said. But I really can't say too much as far as who won, but the way it was looking like I said, it could have went either way. Because I thought he was about to knock Hargrove out, and Hargrove come out with a punch back. Like I said, they was going back and forth. Entertaining from what I saw.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy fight. I don't really have much to add to it. Good one for Dubois. And then the main event. It's interesting, man. I'll go first, and I'm not going to be long-winded at all. We've been kind of watching the downfall of Deontay for a little bit now. I think the Tyson Fury trilogy took a lot out of him, starting from there. Him switching trainers. We talked about it in our group chat. We talked a little bit about just him with Malik Scott. Malik Scott I like him as a trainer. I don't necessarily think he was the best trainer for Wilder. It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. And Wilder's one of those guys that for a little bit he'll try, he'll do the plan, but once the fire starts coming, you get hit a couple of times, he just goes back to what he does naturally. And I think a good trainer, when you look at people like Manuel Stewart, rest in peace, he was a master in maximizing what you already know how to do, what your natural God-given gift is or your talent is. He didn't try to make you a whole new fighter. He took what you had and maximized it. And I think that's really what Deontay would have needed. Last night, I said this, some may not agree. I don't think he has the firepower in that right hand like he used to. He landed flush a few times. It did nothing. I noticed in his last fight, it landed a few times, did nothing. So this is what happens, man, when you don't have other tools in the tool shed and you're relying on that one tool and you can't get it to go like it used to. you pretty much a fish out of water for the most part, right? Last night he landed that boy a few times, and it didn't do nothing. He have nothing. He had absolutely nothing. No technical skill. You know, he even like, and I've always been critical on how he throw punches. He throw punches a little bit like he swim a little bit. Like even when he,
technique.
yeah, he paw and he swim. He kind of fight over. Even when he gets in the when they get in the clinch, and it's just like it's just weird. Look, he's like, you know what I mean, like all this weird stuff, man. But he's always had the equalizer, so nobody really cared that he didn't have these other tools until this tail end of his career. I think that there's nothing to prove. At this point, there is a few fights, not a few. There's really one fight that I wish he would have took in his career earlier. That's against AJ. But I think I think that's a done deal. I think that's gone. Go ahead and ride off in the sunset. You know, like he always say, I made a lot of good investments. You know, I don't have to box no more. Praise God. Go do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Go do that. I think it's a wrap for him. He's just not the same fighter. Again, he hasn't really had crazy technical ability from the beginning of his career, his professional career, but he always had athleticism, explosiveness, big power in that right. We don't see the athleticism no more. We don't see the explosiveness no more, and that right hand ain't right-handed no more like it used to be. So go ahead, man, and while you're still healthy, you know, still in your right mind. The whole reason he got in boxing was because of his disabled daughter, to be able to get the resources for her to get the proper and best care possible. You've done that. As a man, you've done your job. Nothing else to prove, man. I think he should go ahead and retire. AT.
All right, I agree with a lot of that. I do think the Tyson Fury trilogy did take a lot out of him, because I think he went on different paths throughout that whole series. Where, and I'm gonna break it down, then it translate into this last fight. But that first Fury fight, I mean, he did drop him a few times, and he was a smaller fighter. He was based more of athleticism and movement. That's kind of enhanced his power with that. So that first fight, he was able to drop Fury, and I thought he won the fight. I thought it was a long count, but that's neither here nor there. It was a draw. The second fight, he went and bulked up, I think too much, 20-something pounds, whatever like that. So reflexes wasn't as great. And then it seemed like he gassed out super quick. Fury won that fight, notwithstanding the glove controversy. So win that fight, it's questionable, controversy. Third fight, same thing. He brought in Malik Scott, which is from what I've seen of him, he's a really great boxing mind, but I don't think he really has the coaching insight to where you can navigate a fighter of that stature and being so young in his career. So that basically Wilder, from that second fight, letting go Mark Breland, I thought that was a bad move, because Mark Breland, skilled coach, knew a lot of good things, and it just seemed like Wilder wasn't listening to his corner. It seemed like things, you come out here, he training how he won and kind of running the shit. So when you get a lot of people like that, where you yes man or things like that, and then you let him go because he stopped the fight, you was taking punishment. It all basically concluded with the Tyson Fury third fight, where you basically fought angry and was able to get some knockdowns, but you still overall lost. So that translating into this current situation, the Joseph Parker one, he said he was taking that Ashwanda, whatever, or just more gentle, gentle spirit. So that fight, he just seemed like a guy who not letting his hands go, just waiting for that one shot. You fall in love with your power, and if that opportunity never come, you're gonna lose because you don't fell behind so far. So Parker got him in that regard. I don't think his power left him, but I do think his chin punch resistance was gone, and then his Wilder used to jab a lot, but he, like I said, he got away from that. So the fundamentals and all that, it came to a perfect storm. So when you going against Zane, I thought he started off cool. He tried to jab a little bit, but throughout that whole fight, I just kind of expected Zhang to eventually land something. Now I know Zhang is not in the best condition, but he did have 70 pounds on Wilder, so him and Fury kind of took that Fury blueprint where you bulk up a lot or gain weight where you can take that punch. So Wilder did land a few shots, but that was a fight where Wilder probably would have needed to box, but he don't got the skill set to fully box for 12 rounds. So Zane got him out of there. He landed that shot, and when he landed that shot, it looked like it just his whole equilibrium was thrown off. Was he turned away from him, and everybody was like he looked at the ref, but I just thought he didn't know where he was. So then he looked at that way, and then my man followed up with that final punch, and then he just basically got him. My man Zhang was a menace to society, so he just told him to hurry up and buy.
Right.
Oh man. Both of you guys hit definitely like key points with that fight. And then AT, you said something key too as far as that equilibrium or whatever it looked like. Remember back when he fought Fury, when his ear started bleeding. That's exactly what happened to him then. With the glove, he is smacking his ear, and his ear started bleeding. I don't think he was the same ever since then. Since that.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I say, he was trying to throw that power punch. Like you said, it just was nothing over on it. And I think over time, he just kind of lost that power and that athleticism or whatever they had. Like I said, his jabs was not there. Mm-hmm. But when you get to his point in his career, I think it is time for him to hang it up or whatever. Zhang was ready and Zhang was prepared or whatever. Like you said, that 70 pounds made a huge difference. And he just caught him with that stiff jab. And I think that's what wrote everything off there because he did not know where he was at when he turned around. Because the one thing they teach you in boxing, you never turn your back on your opponent.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing you do when you first get smacked like that or whatever. Yeah, like you should definitely retire, hang it up, and go on. Good win for Big Bang Zhang, though. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, that was real interesting how that happened like that. Cause Zhang, he didn't look the best in his last fight, but it seemed like Wilder looked even worse. And as I watched the fight, I was just like, man, at some point when is that shot gonna land, whatever. And then was it like the 5th or 6th round or something like that? Zhang landed that shot to throw everything off. But my question to y'all, I mean, we do all kind of believe he should retire. Do y'all think he just go out immediately or have one of them fights, a lower level fighter to retire gracefully, or just I think that's it?
I think immediately. Just for the simple fact, like, who's you gonna fight next? So you're just gonna be taking a fight just to take a fight or whatever, so it can look pretty. But outside of that, if you fight a good fighter again that could punch, where somebody, like you said, he had to actually box somebody like Zhang. Fury, those bigger fighters, he has to box those. He can't do that. So if Joseph Parker is going to knock you out and, saying beat you down or whatever, who's the next guy that could potentially actually hurt you? And I think he actually has possible brain injury or something that he may need to get checked for because, like you said, with that punch, it looked like his equilibrium was off again or whatever. And I don't think he's the type of fighter that's going to be like, hey, this is what happened or whatever. Like, he got too much pride for all that.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, he had me question his performance and his capabilities after that Fury fight when his ear started bleeding.
Yeah. I think he should immediately call it quits. Just because, man, if you're not going to compete at a high level, then you shouldn't compete at all. Also, he was 1 foot in, 1 foot out already. He was already talking about retiring. Yeah. So mentally in his mind, he's saying that if I do good in this fight, I'll move on. If I don't do good, I'm going to retire. So his mind was already split. And we know how that goes. We kind of seen the same thing with Sean Porter. I mean, he fared better in this, with everything. But his mind was kind of, he was in two different places in the Bud fight. So once you start thinking like that, you know, who knows how you feel mentally in training camp? Like you kind of just going through the motions, knowing that, man, it's probably it for me. It's like when you get ready to quit your job, right? When you put in your mind like, man, let them say one more thing and I quit. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what it says.
You don't want to do that in the ring, though.
No, you don't want to do that in the ring. You
Like,
don't want to do
God
that. Yeah,
damn.
you don't. You don't. But I think if he decides to take another fighter, decides to stay, I don't even know, man. Because I was gonna say he needs to take it seriously.
Didn't he have like a 3-fight deal or something, or he just was it fight to fight?
No, it was. So this was a 1-fight deal, and if he would have won, him and Eddie Hearn would have renegotiated.
Gotcha.
But since he lost, there's no renegotiating. I think that this would have been a dope partnership, personally, with everything with the relationship that he has with Turkey Al Sheikh, and you know how I'm hearing that the reception for him over in Saudi Riyadh is great. They love him. You know what I'm saying? Like
power hitters, bro.
Yeah, they let them bangers, right? And
stuck around PBC for too long.
Yeah, man. So like this would have been a great merger. The big fight that he wanted, the 2 big fights that he wanted, he would have got again, right? They asked him multiple times, well, could you and Fury happen again? He was like, it's a possibility, right? AJ is over there. The fights that you wanted were right in your grasp. You know what I'm saying? Right in your grasp. But you deteriorated so much and lack so much at this point in the determination. You heard him say it a couple of fights ago, like, I just don't have, you know, the will and the want to fight anymore. I don't have the fire no more. And I think that was still prevalent even going into this fight, but he tried to psych himself out to think that, man, I could give it one more go. If I can get this done, the old Wilder gonna come back. The old for riches. No, he was saying that I lost the will and the want to fight. He said that a few fights ago. And once that sets in, it's over, unfortunately. True. So I think he was trying to convince himself that if he wanted to, like, I can will myself to want to do something, you know, again. But nah, that ain't. Come on, man, that ain't where your heart is, man. Your heart says it's over for us. So I don't think he should fight again. I think he should just go ahead and call it a career, man. Call it a career.
It was a good the good note that came out of this fight too is on Zhang's side or whatever. At the end of the fight, you heard, I guess there was so many people in China that watched that fight that kind of like broke a record or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that's good for boxing.
Good for boxing.
He was saying since that was big for Zhang and everybody watched, they're gonna do a pay-per-view joint in China.
Fire.
Well, I'm hoping what will happen with this, because you don't get to see it in a way on those big fights or whatever.
Yeah.
So if he ain't gonna come to America,
you go to China.
That card.
Yeah.
I think that would be dope to see.
For sure.
To give him a big fighter, like, who would it be?
Right.
But I think that would be like a hell of a card to actually watch set that up.
I agree.
They'd probably name that card the Kung Flu.
Yo, you go.
You stupid, man.
Yeah, you put Nakatani on that card too.
China. That was a superpower battle. U.S. and China. That one probably broke the economy right there.
Oh,
Wilder,
my God, that's funny. The Kung Flu. I like that. Stupid. Fellas, any questions? Anything y'all can think of before we call it?
We got a couple weeks before some more good fights come up.
Oh, you got Blair and Broner next week.
Yeah, Blair and Broner
that's
on the 7th on my birthday.
7th.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's gonna be
it. Them dudes is crazy, yo. Blair been on AB's tail this whole time too. It's been funny. I don't know if y'all ever been watching any of the lead up or anything like that.
Not too much of it.
Them dudes, the Broner ain't as wild as he used to be, but Blair is wild enough for both of them. He's wild enough for both.
He training with Tank Trainer too, ain't he, Broner?
With Calvin Ford, I think so.
Yeah.
He in the house right now with him.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be a good fight.
Yeah.
Look forward to it.
Yeah, because Calvin said that the roles is kind of swapped now. Tank kind of being like big brother to him, helping him get ready for this fight. So that's gonna be interesting to see how he
It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, we touched on a lot today, though. I think we covered the whole gamut, pretty much.
Yeah, we covered everything that happened in the last couple of weeks. So yeah, next time we get back on, we have AB news, and then we'll be getting closer to the 15th, man, to that Frank Martin, Gervonta Davis fight again. People, please don't forget David Benavidez is fighting on that card, man. So it's going to be a worthwhile fight. Next show we really should break that down. I think we should give our opinions on who we think is going to win. We could talk about odds, all that different stuff. But yeah, so we got some good stuff coming up for sure.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, listen, again, thank y'all for tuning in and Pose My Will podcast. I'm your host, Ramone. Got Joe, got AT with me. Appreciate y'all. Please like, subscribe, share, dislike, however you feel. And we'll get with y'all on the next one. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.